Hi, guys. You're listening to You More Me Joy, a podcast that brings you joy, fun, drama, and laughter with your host, Joy Rice. Now, surprise! I have a video today, and we are here to continue the sequel of my last episode, How to Apply and How to Nail an Interview. Now, so for our part two, which is now my 10th episode, is entitled How Foreign Employers Can Understand Our English Speaking. So I have a very special guest today, and that will actually give us some tips and things we needed to be aware of in speaking English. Now, let me introduce to you Kayla. She is a pronunciation coach from upstate New York who fell in love with the art of spoken word after mastering her Spanish accent through the study of phonetics and phonology. Now, this motivated her to guide others in experiencing the same sense of accomplishment in her native language of English. Now, she completed her Bachelor of Arts in Spanish and International Development Studies in New York and went on to receive her Master of Arts in International Cooperation for Development from the oldest university in Spain. Kayla currently remains in Spain and is passionate about her sharing her love of language with her students with inspiring them to appreciate all of the nuances of not only English but of their native language as well. So let me introduce to you. Now I have here Miss Kayla Belush. So hi Kayla, how are you today?
Hi, doing well. Thank you, Joy. How are you? Thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Well, I'm so excited to have you, and you look so lovely today. Well, as
Oh, thank you. You
always.
as well.
Okay. Well, earlier during the first part of my podcast, I have discussed about the tips and how to nail an interview in order to get a job now that the new normal world is depending on online freelancers. Now, the problem is that being a non-English speaking individual, we are having difficulty and we are struggling in expressing ourselves in English. So, having you here, may you please guide us and understand learning English even if we're adults already. So,
Mhm.
what really is the importance of English speaking and grammar, especially in our career?
Yeah. So this is a really important thing that I think a lot of professionals that are from, Europe or Asia, Latin America, they've struggled with this for years, but I think the topic is coming to light quite a bit more now because
Mhm.
everything is online. So there's this huge influx of new people coming in working online, especially as freelancers because there's
Mhm.
so much opportunity. But then oftentimes people do find this battle with trying to find the jobs that they want and getting that same opportunity as native speakers. So many people ask me what, in regards to this question, they want their grammar to be absolutely perfect.
Mhm.
And for certain types of jobs, grammar will obviously be very important. Like if you are going
Yes.
to be writing, like if I want to be an English copywriter, I'm
Yeah.
going to have pretty perfect grammar.
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
exactly. Or if I
We
want to
needed that.
freelance as an English teacher, I might need to have pretty perfect grammar. But lots of people want to work as other things where maybe speaking is more important. Maybe working as
Mhm.
virtual assistants or just making, telephone calls or just connecting with other people, being
Yes.
salesmen.
Mhm.
So the speaking aspect is really, really important. And I think that with lots of jobs, the speaking aspect is actually what helps us connect more with people. So once we get to a level of, I don't know, maybe like intermediate in
Mhm.
our second language, my personal belief is that it's much better to start working on that speaking aspect, and the grammar will come with that. The more you're practicing speaking and hearing
I
other
see.
people use grammar, and the more you try to imitate that grammar, the easier those rules will come to you. And then you
Mhm.
can keep refreshing on those grammar rules that maybe are more difficult for you as time goes on. But that speaking aspect of being able to tap into people's emotions when they speak, have them
Yeah.
feel happy when you feel happy, have
Exactly.
them feel sadness when you feel sadness, and
The
like share that
emotion should
experience with
be
them.
there.
Exactly. Without those emotions, we can't tap into someone else's subconscious, and we're never going to have that really strong communication with them, especially that type of communication we want in
Mm-hmm.
business. So being able to play with things like pitch, intonation, word stress in a sentence are really important key factors to this. And it's the same thing that like public speakers use when they
Yeah,
are trying to captivate their audience. So that's what we want to do as speakers as well, and start playing with, so that it becomes easier for us to be captivating online and find new clients easier.
I see. Well, you have mentioned connection and emotion. So that is actually, I believe, one of the most important thing is to have this connection. And for you to be able to, let's say you really have to express yourself by putting the emotions, not just saying, hi, yeah, I'm good, I'm nice, I'm happy. But then
Mhm.
there's no emotion on it. So I guess upon saying those words, these are the exact thing that we are missing, that we are
Mhm.
not aware of. So the connection and the emotion, that's very one of the most important thing. Am I getting it correct?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that. And I think that's one thing that perhaps non-native speakers are afraid to do, is like show too much emotion, or
Mhm.
they don't want to overdo it. And perhaps in their native language, they don't express emotion the same way, like with
Yes.
intonation and word stress. So it's important to understand those differences and recognize them, so that you can use those differences later on to your advantage when you know how to use them better in English. And living here in Spain, people tell me all the time, they're like, Americans always sound so excited. Like, I don't know how to
I
connect with
believe in
Americans
that. Yeah.
because they sound so excited and I don't know how to sound excited. So, like, how do I connect with Americans? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we use this ascending or rising intonation when we are happy, or expressing
Hmm.
positive emotion, when we're enthusiastic, when we're interested. So using this da 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 da, going up the way we speak, when we go up with our intonation, it's
Yeah.
much easier for people to feel, they're excited, and they get excited too. So that's like one easy trick to like sound more
Yeah, that's
excited,
the
like
thing.
an American.
Even though we're excited, you wouldn't see it in our face or intonation. It's
Mhm.
just that we're if we are really really excited. Now that's the only thing you will see. Oh, she's excited. So it's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, I'm so excited. Oh yeah, I'm so excited. But I'm excited. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. We tend to be just like on a neutral, muted, physical
Mhm.
and tone, expressing ourselves. So that's why with the employer and the employee, there is no connection. That's the thing, that the
Exactly.
connection doesn't have, um, wasn't there. So that's why there's a
Exactly.
difficulty expressing to each other. Are we okay? Are we good, or are we not?
Mhm.
So
And
okay.
if an employer sees that like neutral expression and hears a monotone voice, they're going to think that you're not genuinely interested in the job, that you are
But
bored
we
with the
are.
conversation. Yeah.
But we do. It's a happen we can express. So, with that in mind, is it necessary for us to know also the culture of American or European English in order to understand you guys?
Mm-hmm. 100%, especially when we're talking about that emotional part, right? Because with literal words and the literal expressions we use, like, okay, maybe I understand what you're saying, but the context behind it is really important too.
Yeah.
So there are common do's and don'ts in every culture, certain traditions that we might have, like in business, about things that are normal to talk about, things that aren't normal to talk about. So like, what are
Mhm.
those social boundaries? Where should we be focusing in on the conversation to have it sound the most natural and normal, and never offend anyone, right? Because if we offend someone that could be a
Yes.
potential client or in business, that's not good, obviously. So for any language that we're learning, it's important to be able to connect with the people that are native speakers of that language, understand their culture as well. And of course, British culture is not the same as American culture.
I
So
truly
I
know.
think a great way to be involved in that is sort of consuming as much media as you can in your day-to-day life, like little bits at a time, of pieces of media. It could be TV or
Oh,
songs or
yeah.
articles that are
Good
from those
tips.
places. So you can see what's going on in society, how
Mhm.
people react to certain social situations. I think TV shows and comedies are great with this because you can see in what situations people feel uncomfortable when they talk about X topics, and when people feel good and respond well because you asked about this thing, and the other thing.
Good point.
So it is really important, and knowing how direct or indirect we should be. A lot of non-native English speakers are able to be very forward, very straightforward in their native languages, and ask things very like abruptly, or
Yeah.
they just put it all out there. And I've had people ask me like things like,
We
oh,
don't get it right away.
yeah, they're like, tell me all about your boyfriend, or when are you getting married? And I'm like,
What?
what? I'm like, I've never talked to you about my relationship. Like, that's a really weird question. But to
Yeah.
them, it feels normal. Yeah.
Yeah, some like in our culture, it's very normal to be personal. We kept on
Hmm.
digging on people's lives than the work side. So because that's the way how we tend to know the person and communicate with others. However, there are, yes, you're telling us is that the some culture doesn't like it that way, or they're not used to it, or they're not after of the personal matter, or so the social culture we should know about is very important also for us to be
Hmm.
able to convey and have a better conversation on the other end,
Yeah,
right? Okay, and
exactly.
yeah, watching media, TV or YouTube, that is also a good tip for us to be able to identify American culture or European culture or whatever culture we would like to know, so that we would know how to respond with them and how to convey with them properly, because they have different, I know they have different meanings of
Mhm.
some points. All right. Now, how can this be a great advantage in online freelancing world, knowing all this,
Mhm.
English and grammar, because we are non English speaking individual just tend to say what we know, like literal interpretation of word per word. Like we're
Yeah.
translating in our mind what's the English word for this, and that's how I try to convey with you. So it's not a real speaking English term trying to have a
Mhm.
conversation with our employer or employer to be.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
how can we speak um, in neutral accent, or does it have to be with take off our accent? Do we have to adapt the accent, or how can we learn English that well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you touched on a couple of different really good points there. So, the first one about going through that experience of maybe you're talking to your employer and you're constantly translating in your head from your native language,
Mm-hmm.
that will make things sound less natural almost always, because we don't literally translate things word by word. There's different structures and different vocabulary that might be
Mm.
better for different circumstances. So in that sense, I think it's really great for professionals to, if they want to work in English, always be listening in English to like things like podcasts, for example, that
Mm.
are talking about what they want to do for work, or they're reading books that are about business in English. And if we are learning and consuming that content in English, it's normal that it will actually come to us, like
Mhm.
the syntax, the grammatical structure, the vocabulary, it will come to our mind in English before it does in our native language because we learned it
I
in
see. So we're
English.
naturally adapting everything after all this exposure.
Exactly.
So with
Yeah.
your experience on that, usually how long for us non-English speakers to be able to adapt and those things
Mhm.
generally or in average?
Mm. So for non-native English speakers, I think it really, really depends on the person and how much time you're willing to invest in putting those little bits of English more and more into your daily life so that you can live it and feel connected with it,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just use it as a means of communication, right? Because the more emotionally attached we are to something, the more we use it, the easier it is for us to then, take that active vocabulary and use it to our advantage when we're meeting with an employer or a potential client. So I think, if you spend a couple of months really focusing on every day consuming, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes of content in English regarding your work, like business atmosphere, whatever industry you're in. Also try to take time during the day to like journal in English. Maybe the first 5 minutes when you wake up, you could write down your thoughts in English. That will help you connect with your emotions and express
Oh,
yourself more
yeah,
naturally.
that's cool.
Um,
Yeah,
and start to think
I'll
in
try that.
English. Yeah.
I'll try
Yeah.
that. Yeah, at least I
Yeah.
have like my quote of the day or whatever I thought of that day. I'll just put it into journal and I will see the progress on it on a daily basis. Well, that's a good point on
Exactly.
that. And how about our accent? We're having problem with our accent on it. Can we learn? Can we really learn how to take off the fake accent that we have?
So what an accent is, for people who maybe don't understand where their accent comes from, is it's very normal for us, especially as adult speakers of another language.
Mm-hmm.
We learned as an adult, it's a different process than when we're children. So we already have habits in our mouth and in our muscle memory with
Mm-hmm.
our tongue and our lips and our teeth, how we use all of them to create sounds. It comes from our native language. So then when we try to produce sounds in our non-native language, like English in this instance, then the sounds won't sound exactly the same because we are
Yes.
adapting sounds from our native language. And that's a totally normal thing to go through. But most people think that it's impossible to change their accent or sound a different way once they're an adult. But that's not true either. It
Mm-hmm.
does take work, right? We have to like take time and energy into like practicing pronunciation and learning some different rules that will help us know how to pronounce things and when, but you can totally do it as an adult. I did not learn my second language until to speak my second language until the age of like 19. I'm
Mm-hmm.
24 now. So the past 5 years, I've been working on that process of wanting to work on my accent because it was a personal decision of mine. I thought it would be
Uh-huh.
fun. I wanted to connect better with Spanish people. So I wanted to adopt the Spanish accent. So if you find that you have an accent, but people understand you fine, they never
Mm-hmm.
ask you to repeat yourself, you feel like, and you know you're clear with your message, there's no need to improve
That's
your
fine.
accent
Yeah.
unless you think, hey, it would be cool to relate to people even more, because when you sound like someone, they feel that connection with you. And that's a subconscious thing that we do. If I hear another American, I'm like, hey, an American. And I think, oh, like my people,
Yeah.
so that's a normal
There's
thing to go
confidence
through.
right away and yeah.
Exactly. So,
There's
but if you want to adopt like some sort of neutral accent, or you find that people do have a hard time understanding you, it is important to fix or start to improve on those weaknesses that you might have in your pronunciation. So identifying the most difficult sounds that you might have in English, if there are typically intonation or stress issues coming from your native language, and to know which problems you might be going through. It's as
Mhm.
simple as going into Google and typing typical pronunciation errors for native like Chinese speakers or native
Yeah.
Indian speakers. And you'll find this list, and you'll have to go through it and try to understand it if you're doing it on your own without a professional helping you.
Uh-huh.
But you'll see, okay, the W and V sounds tend to be difficult, or the E versus I vowel pair tends to be difficult.
Yeah.
And you can find so many videos like on YouTube
Eh.
and resources to help with that.
So, do you believe that practicing in front of a mirror or recording ourselves would help us improve?
Yes, 100%.
That's a
Especially
hundred
at the
percent. Yeah.
yeah, especially at the beginning when we want to like gauge our progress and measure, okay, am I actually making a difference? Like, do I actually sound different? Recording ourselves on video if we can, or if not, just an audio recording of us reading off something, maybe a general paragraph, something that we need to use
Mm,
for work. And then when we're working on little pronunciation things every week, we can re-record that same paragraph
mm.
every single week.
Oh, I
And then
see.
compare week 1 to week 12, for example, And you will
Yeah.
undoubtedly see a huge difference if every day you're putting in just a little bit of time to better
So
understanding
that's the
your
trick.
pronunciation. Mhm.
Writing
Yeah.
journal, have a mirror or record yourself, and really you have to check on yourself on a daily basis. Is it really necessary for us to have a coach?
No, it's you can work on your pronunciation without having like a coach or an accent professional working with you.
Mhm.
It will probably take longer because you'll have to find on your own how to measure or gauge your weaknesses,
Uh-huh.
whereas a professional in the field will be able to tell you from the get-go,
Right
hey, I hear
away.
an issue with the
Yeah.
vowel pair with and those are really subtle things that are hard for some people to pick up on.
Can even pronounce
But
the
the yeah. So it just depends on the individual, but the main most important aspects that are probably hindering your clarity when you're speaking,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you could 100% do that on your own, but you will have to take the time to look it up and find free resources. But there's so many online, even from YouTube videos, you
Yeah,
can find such a huge amount of information to help you there. Hmm.
I see. Well, thank you for those information. It's very helpful tips. I know it's just I don't have to elaborate more, but I already got what I needed. How people will really understand how to speak English. So it's not really about all the accents or intonation, but you really have to first know how to connect. Okay, you know
Hmm.
how to use your emotions, and of course, practice more and more. Now, I know you have this passion also of teaching people how to speak English. And with English Without Borders, I know you have that kind of project. Can you tell us more about English Without Borders?
Hmm. Of course. So, English Without Borders is my free online community where I give free classes 3 times a week on things just like what we've talked about. We talk
Mhm.
about different things with accent, we talk about nuances between sounding formal or informal, we talk about idioms, we talk about speaking norms, we talk about body language. There's
Mhm.
so many aspects that come into it. How to sound more polite, how we might sound rude, so all of
Uh-huh.
those little things that no one really talks about in a typical English academy or English classroom,
Mhm.
those are the things we love to talk about. And I give those
Oh,
free
see.
classes there because I really believe in empowering other people through free education. I think it should be more accessible in not only English, but in all
Mhm.
languages, to be able to share our languages with each other and learn, because it's just a means of communication so that we can
Yeah.
connect with people from all over the world.
Mhm.
So it's not about speaking more like me or speaking more like you. It's
Mhm.
about speaking more like your authentic version of yourself that you want to be in another language. And sometimes that'll sound different than how you sound in your native
Yeah.
language. So learning how to own your voice, feel confident in it, and know how you want to express yourself is just such an empowering thing for individuals.
I
So
agree on
yeah, if
that.
I'm
Super
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, well, that is so nice and so heartwarming to know that there are people who tries to help others how to speak English or how to educate us non-speaking individual um, out from your heart. All right.
mhm.
Um, but what if we would like to have a one-on-one coaching with you? Is that possible?
Yeah, yeah, that is possible. I do take on one-on-one coaching clients. It is
Mm-hmm.
obviously a quicker way to get to where we want to go. So people could directly get in touch with me if they wanted something like that, maybe through Instagram, through
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and Joy will share all of my contact information with you guys. So if you guys need anything, then you're free to ask. But I will also have, within the next month or two, I'll be releasing a pre-made course
Mm-hmm.
through English Without Borders. They will all be pre-recorded and at a very
Yeah.
discounted price for English Without Borders members.
Mm-hmm.
So if people want to join that community and get access to hours and hours worth of
Mm-hmm.
video training for some of the most important sounds that come into
Yeah.
play when we're working on accent or intonation, word stress, they'll have a huge discount through that in the upcoming months through the English Without Borders community.
Oh, that's
So thank you for
great.
including
That's
that.
something new.
Yeah, Joy doesn't actually know about this yet, guys. So this is
Oh, spoiler
new for
alert, is
her.
this? I'm sorry.
It's a new project.
So that's very exciting. I'm so excited to hear about that. But is this, oh yeah, I will not ask any other question about this. It might spoil the project about it. So, okay, we'll just catch up with you on your community or in your community, and I'll be putting all the details of your contact information, how to get in touch with you if they would like to be in a community or just to have a one-on-one coaching with you. Okay.
Mhm.
So there you go, guys. This is really something to learn about because we tend to take things for granted sometimes that we just know how to speak English as a non-speaking individual, especially here in our country. We just tend to interpret things according to what we know on a literally basis terms of words. However, there are a lot of things to consider in speaking in English, how to be confident, how to be empowered by it, and how to express ourselves fully. So, with this, I hope everyone enjoyed listening to Miss Kayla Belush all the way from Spain. Okay, but she's a New Yorker, but she's just in Spain right now. And I'm so glad that she was able to help a lot of people how to understand and speak in English, empower themselves, and how to be confident at the end of her classes and sessions and more. So there you go, guys. Thank you so much for your time with us, Miss Kayla Belush. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. This was an incredible conversation. I'm always down to talk about language and all of its nuances. So this was really fun for me. I hope our tips help someone today. And I hope to see some of the listeners later on in a live class with me in English Without
Yeah,
Borders.
I have
Let
some
me know
people
if
already who are
yeah,
in
let
your
me know
class.
if you find us or if you find the English Without Borders community through Joy, go ahead and let me know and I can chat with you in person. That would be really fun
All
for
right, you
me.
hear that, guys? But I know you're already inside the community of EWB, and I hope you're enjoying too. So, again, once again, thank you so much, Miss Kayla, and you do have a great
Thank
day.
you. You as well.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
So, there you go, guys. I hope you learned something new today and apply it now or tomorrow as you wake up. And by the way, I would like to say thank you to our new friend, the Threesome Podcast, for guesting me in their Business and Hobbies live streaming show. It was such a fun guesting. So you may want to check it out on their YouTube or Spotify. Again, that is Threesome. That's TREESUM podcast. So that is all, guys, for today. Thank you for joining me this week on Humor Me Joy with Joy Rice. Please make sure to follow and subscribe Humor Me Joy on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor.fm, YouTube, and Instagram. So be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Ayun lang. Thank you. And this is Joy Rice signing off. Ngiti ka lang.